Welcome to episode 2 of the Anything Can Happen Baseball podcast. I'm your host Angel, and today we're going to be talking about free agency, the AL and NL Rookie of the Year, and the new manager hirings. First off, congratulations to NL Rookie of the Year Pete Alonso and AL Rookie of the Year Yordan Alvarez. I'm happy the Cuban-born player won the Rookie of the Year award. Yordan was called up by the Astros in early June and he hit 27 home runs in his time there. During the World Series and the playoffs, he wasn't at his best, but he did get another home run during the World Series. Pete Alonso, of course, broke the Rookie of the Year home run record that was last set by Aaron Judge. He hit 53 home runs while Judge had 52, so he broke the record by one. Pete Alonso is on the Mets, who are the opponents of the Marlins, but I'm still happy that he won. Pete Alonso, there's just something about him I don't like, but he seems to have a good potential for the future to be one of the faces of the Mets and lead them to a playoff if the rest of the team is able to do as good as he has this year. And hopefully Jordan is able to become the future for the Astros or another team and be able to set even more records and lead his teams to more playoffs and wins. I love to see the Cuban players lead their teams to victories and wish that we had some of them here in Miami, considering we have a big Cuban community down here. Again, congratulations to Jordan and Pete on the AL and NL Rookie of the Year awards. Who do you guys think should have won? Out of all the people that were able to be in the running for it, I think these two were the right choices for this year's Rookie of the Years. When it comes to free agency news, there's not a lot that's been announced yet. Um, Martin Prado is actually he has been rumored to be retiring. He was a Marlins, a Yankee, along with the Braves and a few other teams. If it's really the end for Prado, I'm happy that we had him on the Marlins. He was a good batting and definitely defense at third base. It's just injuries got to him and his age. So it's good that he's retiring now and he was able to get his 100th home run in his last game with the Marlins. So if this is really the end, I would like to congratulate Martin Prado on his lengthy career and hope he has a good future. If he would like to be a coach on the Marlins and teach the younger guys how to play defense at third base or even first, that would be great, and I would love to see that. No major moves have happened yet in the free agency. A lot of players and teams have opted in and opted out. The Marlins opted out of Starlin Castro's contract, which I find stupid to do. He was an average player on an average team at best, so it makes no sense to get rid of him when he could be one of the veteran leaders of the group. Aroldis Chapman, on the other hand, signed a third year with the Yankees, $18 million, so now he's going to stay 3 years at $48 million. He was about to leave if they didn't find the right amount he wanted by the end of the night, in which the players and teams can opt in and opt out. When it comes to big free agents, I see Strasburg going back to the Nationals. Rendon's a possibility to stay with the Nationals. Garrett Cole is the one that could go anywhere, depending on how much money they give him. Because that's interview he gave after the final game of the World Series said it all. That basically he's another Bryce Harper, and a lot of the bets are going that he could go to the Angels, even Philly, and I could easily see New York because they're the evil empire and they have all the money to spend. So it's easily to see any of them possible for Garrett Cole to go to. If he goes to Philly, he has Bryce Harper, who's the other person that I easily compare him to. If he goes to the Angels, he has Mike Trout, which is the best baseball player of this generation. He has Shohei Ohtani, which is another Japanese sensation that could maybe be the next Ichiro, and a brand new manager that has led teams to World Series times before. I really don't care where he goes. It'd be good if he doesn't go to Philly because then the Marlins are going to have, bigger mission to go through. And as I said in episode 1, I just hope he doesn't come to Miami. Anywhere else, I really don't care. Just, I don't want him here with the Marlins. Now to talk about the new manager hirings. The teams that were looking for new managers were the Angels, Phillies, Cubs, Padres, Royals, Mets, Pirates, and Giants. So far, 6 of those 8 have found new managers to fill the positions. The Angels were first to strike when they signed Cubs former manager Joe Maddon. Maddon took the Cubs to the World Series in 2016 and they won the World Series, not only breaking the 108-year drought but also breaking the Billy Goat curse. Maddon also took the Tampa Bay Rays to the World Series in 2008. They went from one of the worst teams to the best team with help from Joe Maddon. This isn't the first time Joe Maddon's been with the Angels. He actually started off playing with them in the minor leagues, but he never got as far as that. Once he was finished with that, they hired him as a coach in the minor leagues, and he went through the rankings there to become one of the coaches in the major leagues. And that's when he left and went to Tampa. Out of all the manager hirings, I see the Joe Maddon one as one of the most positive. He took the Cubs, a team with a lot of potential, and took them to the World Series. I can see this possibly happening with the Angels, who also have a lot of potential with Trout, Ohtani, and a few others. But Maddon alone cannot help them make it to the playoffs, let alone the World Series. They need to hire a few other players, and it might be Maddon who chooses who they hire for them to make it to the playoffs. He'll know the people that he needs to make it to the playoffs and the World Series. Another major manager hiring that I see could be really positive is the Joe Girardi hiring for Philly. Girardi has a history for being a great manager. In 2006, he got Manager of the Year for taking a losing team and having a better record than they were expected to win. And that team was the Miami Marlins. He took basically a group of rookies and did less worse than they were expected to do and got Manager of the Year for it. His first year with the Yankees in 2009, they made it and won the World Series. Since then, they haven't, and he got released by them in 2017. But now he's back as manager for Philly, which I feel is a big threat for the Marlins now, considering they'll have one of the best managers. But we also have Mattingly, so we're okay, I think. The Royals got Mike Matheny, who has managed for the Cardinals from 2012 to 2018. He's an okay manager to get, but with the Royals, they won't be expecting to make the playoffs anytime soon. So I see him as more as a transition manager, for just to have there for now, and just manage a under average Royals team until they're able to get more guys that are good and that give them potential to make the playoffs. Next, you have the Padres, and they hired Jace Tingler, who was a field coordinator, coach, and front office for the Texas Rangers, along with being a Winter Dominican League team manager. He's a wild card because with him it could go either way. He could be good, he could be bad. We'll see this year which way it goes for him. And now for the 2 player turn managers, Carlos Beltran for the Mets and David Ross for the Cubs. These 2 are wild cards because this is their first time both being managers. Beltran was with the Mets, the Yankees, and Houston when they won in 2017. After he retired, he became an advisor to Cashman, the general manager of the Yankees, and this is the first time that he's actually going to be a manager managing players. So it could go either way. He was a veteran, of course, at the end of his career, so he could have some experience with that. and he might hire people that have been coaches and managers before him to fill up the other coaching positions, and so they could help. It could go either way, and same thing goes for David Ross. David Ross, I see a little bit more potential purely because he was a catcher, and catchers already have to manage the field. They got to manage the pitcher, and basically the game is all in their hands. So I see David Ross having a better shot at winning more games than Beltran and the Mets, but only time will tell, really, because they both are rookies to this and managing, even though they have worked as a player, so they know how to deal with them. And Ross, basically, he was on the 2016 Cubs team, so a lot of those players are still on the teams, so he knows how they work. Only time will tell with these two wild cards on which will be a better manager. So you have the two Joes, Girardi and Madden, as the positives. The two whatever managers, Matheny and Tingler, and the two wild card player turned managers, Beltran and Ross. Who do you think is going to be the better manager out of the six this season? If I had to choose based on the teams and the manager, I would say Madden has the best shot, followed by Girardi. But the Angels have to add a few more players if they want to make the playoffs. And speaking of managers, last night I was watching on the MLB Network the Billy Martin documentary, and I've heard of him before, but this is the first time that I've actually seen how he did as a manager, and I can't believe he's not in the Hall of Fame. It's mainly because of all the controversy outside of sports and how he was a drunk and he would always get in fights, and also the way he died had to do with being drunk. But him on the field, his manager work, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Every team he went to on the first year, they went from a bad team to a playoff team. He was hired and fired as Yankees manager 5 times because of Steinbrenner, and he was sort of friends, sort of enemy with him. So Steinbrenner would always fire him and then rehire him, and he would take the Yankees to the playoffs or really close to it. And it was rumored that Steinbrenner was going to rehire him a 6th time before he tragically died in a car accident. And to this day, we still don't know who was driving, him or his friend that was visiting out of town. Either way, they were both drunk, and he's on the Hall of Fame because of everything that he would do outside of the baseball field. He would get in fights, he would get drunk. He had a girlfriend at the same time that he had a wife. But I don't think your outside life should determine if you're in the Hall of Fame or not. What should determine it is what you do on the field as a player or a manager. And him as a manager deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for everything that he did. Every team that he joined on his first year, he took them to new heights. If he was still alive, I would want him as the Marlins manager because I know he would be able to take this average team and take it to a new height. And I would keep Mattingly as a coach under him just to release him the next year like Steinbrenner, since what would happen is he would do good the first year and then the team would just be constant at that point. And Mattingly was actually a player under Martin when he was playing for the Yankees, so he knows the way that he thinks and the way he acts, so he might be able to control him a little bit better than other people who didn't know him. Anyway, I firmly believe that Martin should be in the Hall of Fame, and what he did off the field should determine what his success was on the field. This is all for episode 2 of the Anything Can Happen Baseball podcast. Next week, we'll be talking about the most hated players in baseball. Thank you for listening to episode 2 of the Anything Can Happen Baseball podcast.